Hello there and good morning. If you were still on furlough up until yesterday, the likelihood is you are simply waiting for the letter to hit the doormat telling you you're now unemployed. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. Yes, that's right folks, the public was duped into believing that shutting down the economy and most public services would be an easy thing to reverse. Well, guess what? 1.6 million people in this country are right now in panic mode, as are their families, with Rishi Sunak about to switch off the furlough spigot. Now, some of you will be spitting blood at Boris for doing this, but some of you will be saying, "Welcome to the real world, pal." Anyway, what do you think the impact of 1.6 million people not spending money in their communities will be? And when money is tight, businesses fail, including those up the supply chain. It's a domino effect. And the first domino may have just been pushed. And for those that think there are 1 million jobs out there waiting for these people, just consider that the Institute for Fiscal Studies recently came out with a report saying that these 1 million jobs are very low paying and that in reality employment opportunities are more than 10% below pre-pandemic levels. I'm afraid it was only a matter of time until the delayed impact of lockdown came to manifest itself. And here it is. Last year I tried to warn of the economic and societal impact of lockdown. But the lockdown zealots like Piers Morgan had the loudest voices as they became the government's useful idiots. And it's not just the ensuing tidal wave of job losses triggered by the end of furlough that will hit the economy, but also the 40,000 or more unprocessed HGV tests and licences sitting in the DVLA in Swansea, thanks to the government ordering those public sector workers to work from home, and exacerbated by them going on strike. Fewer lorry drivers means a crashing supply chain. That means crashing economic forecasts coming your way soon. But never mind, Piers Morgan will still have his place in the sun and a platform to patronise you from. And all the while our personal liberties are being eroded by a controlling government. But Boris and his government are not alone in their bid to grab power. The devolved Scots and Welsh governments are at it too, as are all governments across the globe. You could almost think that this is some sort of opportunistic and coordinated power grab, whereby citizens are tagged, bagged and rounded into their pens like sheep by the farmers' economic and law enforcement sheepdogs. Those governments, it seems, are all involved in a bit of carpe diem, or more like seizing your human rights. 2019 could go down as the last year of freedom for mankind, as we hurtle straight into a hybrid, Orwellian, Huxleyan dystopian nightmare, all because we allow it to happen. 2020 could be remembered as the year that the masses fell in fear to their governments, and 2021 could be remembered as the year that innocent children were used as shields to protect the older generations, with adults actively wishing for their children and grandchildren to undergo a medical procedure with unknown long-term side effects to protect the older generation. As a society, we should hang our heads in shame. Never before in the history of true civilization have adults used children as human shields while simultaneously trashing their education and life chances. What constitutes the greater good of the collective has been cruelly skewed by money, power and selfishness. And these are things that children have no control over or understanding of, but they are bearing the brunt of it right now. So, what's all this talk about saving the US economy with a $1 trillion coin? But before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. So you think the UK has a £2 trillion debt problem? Well, the US has a massive $28.4 trillion debt problem, and it threatens to shut down the US economy within days. Something that would cripple the Biden government, cause it to default on its debts, put the debt and stock markets into a meltdown, and leave millions with no paycheck. And it's getting that desperate that there is now talk of minting a so-called commemorative platinum $1 trillion coin under a 1997 law, placing that coin in the Federal Reserve, allowing $1 trillion extra to be borrowed against it. And here's the thing, the coin itself doesn't have to be a huge coin made of $1 trillion worth of platinum. It can be as small as a cent as long as it's made of platinum. Talk about Banana Republic economics. So how come the US is hitting the budget buffers? Why can't it just borrow more money like it usually does? Well, the US has a hard law in place that prevents the US government borrowing more than $28.4 trillion. And the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Tuesday that this limit will be reached on October the 18th. And the only way round it is for the US politicians to vote to increase that budget cap to get them to the end of the year and a new budget period. But there's an ideological split amongst them that threatens to prevent that cap being raised, with apocalyptic ramifications for the world's lead economy and therefore also for the rest of us. Now, this problem has come up before and even ended up with government workers being sent home with no pay, but it usually gets resolved very quickly. And in many cases the arguments get dealt with well before the budget ceiling is actually reached. But this time, the political differences are wider than ever due to the Biden administration's massive spending plans that the Republicans are fighting hard against. So the Democrat politicians, including the Congress House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, are actively looking at this $1 trillion coin proposal. And that coin would allow them to bypass Congress entirely and raise the extra money they need. And now the argument is, will $1 trillion be enough? Many economists are pouring scorn on the idea, saying it would trigger inflation, but others say it's just like quantitative easing, and that hasn't triggered inflation, so why not? Minting money at the behest of the government does all sound so Weimar Republic though, doesn't it? All seems a bit of a charade to me as well though. The idea of a cap on spending is presumably to encourage responsible spending of public funds, but if the government can get around the cap using a token platinum coin, then why not ditch the ceiling, then borrow until the market says no more or the country goes bust? Maybe that's where they're headed in the US under Biden anyway. Now, how about a £1 trillion coin? So what's your opinion on furlough ending and the $1 trillion coin? Please like and comment below.